This is something that dads have got to know about. We've got to be having these conversations about sexual assault.
Welcome back to Girl Dad Nation. I had a really great episode with Chris McGhee where he shares his personal story about dealing with a sexual assault of his daughter and just the healing process there, what his family went through, and then now how he's an advocate for change, to change laws so that this doesn't happen again. But I wanted to invite Chris back to give practical advice for understanding grooming behavior. So Chris, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Matthew, thanks for having me back. I appreciate it.
So as a dad, I wanted you to just share a little bit of your story and some of the statistics so that dads can understand grooming behavior.
Yeah, so unfortunately, Matthew, that this is something that dads have got to know about. We've got to be having these conversations about sexual assault. The fact of the matter is that chances are most people know someone who has been sexually assaulted. 1 in 9 girls and 1 in 20 boys under the age of 18 experience some form of sexual abuse or sexual assault. So the numbers are not good. 82% of all victims under the age of 18 are female, right? And girls ages 16 to 19 are 4 times more likely to be victims of rape, attempted rape, or sexual assault. So this stuff is not fun. Nobody likes talking about this stuff, but we simply have to lean into these conversations. This is our reality. The long-term impacts are also pretty scary, right? 81% of women and 35% of men report long-term impact from a sexual assault or a rape. Survivors are 4 times more likely to attempt suicide because of these crimes against them. And survivors are about 4 times more likely to experience post-traumatic stress disorder once they become adults. So this is something we all need to be aware of, because again, chances are it's impacting someone you know. And so as dads, we've got to be vigilant. We've got to be having these conversations. They suck. Nobody wants to have these conversations, but it's just the reality. A lot of times, I know when I grew up, it was all about stranger danger, right? We got to be mindful of the homeless person down in the park, right? Because that's the person that's going to attack you. And the reality is that most sexual assaults are committed by somebody that is known by the victim, right? It is someone that positions themselves as a family friend, a mentor, someone that cares about this person, when in reality, they are simply looking to use their relationship to take advantage. And so what happens is they groom the victim, right? And grooming is this idea of slowly building a relationship that is all based on trust, and it's building an emotional connection with that child or that young adult so that they can manipulate and exploit them, right? So we estimate that up to 99% of all cases of child sexual abuse involves some element of sexual grooming. The notion that it's that stranger is that assaults happen from a stranger are simply not true. There definitely are cases where it is unknown. It is someone that is completely unknown, but the vast majority of them are being committed by someone that is known by the victim, by the family. That's exactly what happened in our case. A police officer sexually assaulted my daughter, and he did it by using his position, by using his authority, by telling us all the things that we wanted to hear. You know, he cares about her. He wants to mentor her. He understands, and we can trust him. And he obviously used that relationship to betray my wife and I, as well as my daughter. So, but it doesn't happen overnight, right? So often, these predators are, well, not so often. They look for specific traits. They look for what they consider easy targets, right? They look for people who have been previously assaulted. My daughter, when she was a freshman in high school, was raped by a classmate. So she had been previously assaulted. She was struggling with what happened to her. And so when this officer found out about that, he used that. And in fact, after the assaults took place, he actually said, you know, you've previously made this claim of being raped, so nobody's going to believe you. Plus, I'm an officer, right? So these predators will seek out people that they feel that they can take advantage of. So something to be aware of. If your child has previously been sexually assaulted, if they have been assaulted by someone else, that puts them at a much higher risk of being assaulted again. These predators are looking for people that they're looking for kids that they're in tough situations at home. You know, maybe both parents are working multiple jobs and they're home alone in the evenings, and so they're going to slowly ingratiate themselves with mom and dad and say, you know, let me help. I'll tell you what, let me take the kids out after school. Let me come over and help. You know, I want to help. They're looking for kids that are in vulnerable positions. They're looking for kids that when they know parents are going through a divorce, they are looking for kids that they feel that they can exploit. That the family is going to look at this person, this predator, as someone that is there to help. And so they're very cognizant of who they select to target and ultimately abuse.
Yeah. So, like, yeah, as you mentioned, is someone that gains trust, not just with the kid, but also the parents. And yeah, like I know, like you're trying to, our natural inclination is to first go to trust, and especially people who have authority that should be in positions of trust. And that's, I'm sure, incredibly difficult when that trust is abused. But what would you say to parents as like practical advice, practical tips to avoid those situations, things to look out for? Yeah, those red flags, warning signs, and then also in the preventative sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, to not, yeah, have these
Yeah.
situations, have that
Yeah.
risk.
So, life happens, right? So divorce happens. We got to work extra jobs. There are things just, you know, we can't always be available, right? So we have to be mindful. We have to be vigilant. We've got to be very aware of these situations when the family is being disrupted, whether it's a divorce, whether it is, mom or dad has to move to a different city for a job, whatever that may be. We've got to be aware that our the children could be much more vulnerable in those situations. So things to look out for are, when we are dealing with someone that is wanting to spend a far more time with your child than is appropriate. So, in our case, he was a police officer. He had children of his own. He was in a relationship, and he's wanting to hang out in his free time with a 15-year-old girl. That's something that we should be aware of. So
Yeah.
that is not to say that everyone who is wanting to take your kid home from practice is going to assault your child, but you want to be mindful of these things. If this is a pattern, you want to have conversations with your child. What is the communication like? One of the things that happened in our case is, rather than continuing to text her, he wanted all communications on Snapchat. Why? Well, because Snapchat, the texts go away, right? So images go away. And so he knew he needed to cover his tracks. Groomers will often trap their victims, such as providing alcohol, right? I bought you a 6-pack, I could get in trouble, but you could also get in trouble, right? And so now they've got something to hang over their head. So if you are struggling to maintain that open communication with your child, that's also, that could present a challenge. So you just want to be aware of that kind of a situation. When this person is again wanting to spend alone time with your child, wanting to have secrets with your child. The assaults, the grooming is a process. It isn't going to happen all at once. So it happens slowly by building that trust and them getting information from your child that they can ultimately use against them. So this is why it's so critical for you to be having open conversations with your child so that they are able to share with you the nature of some of those conversations. Now, not everything they're going to want to share, but if you're seeing that they're very secretive about certain relationships, that should be sending up some red flags. That's the sort of thing that we want to be very mindful of. When you have adults that are having inappropriate conversations with your child, whether it is of a sexual nature or it is, they're sharing stories of drug or alcohol abuse. If they are having conversations that are not age appropriate, that's stuff to be aware of. That is stuff to absolutely be leaning into and finding out what's going on. Adults who are trying to build connections with your child's friends, with, again, the family, these are all things to just be mindful of. Want to be clear, these things alone, these one-offs do not automatically mean that this person is actually grooming your child, but you want to take a look at the big picture, and you want to be making notes of things, and this is also when you want to be having conversations with your child about setting very clear and healthy boundaries and making sure they know that they can come talk to you if things are going off the rails.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really great advice. I think it starts first with building that trust and relationship with the parent and child, and establishing what a healthy relationship is, what healthy communication is, appropriate communication versus inappropriate communication, and then being able to identify that with other strangers or close people, other people in trust, other people in power. But as parents, I think being aware of each of those relationships that our kids are having. But Chris, thank you so much for sharing your story. I know it's such a difficult thing to talk about. I know, like, bringing this up again after going through trauma yourself in your family, but I really appreciate you sharing this, and just for people at home that are listening to this, like, being aware of all of those things. Sometimes hearing other people's stories, oftentimes, like, you don't necessarily self-reflect on things in your own life, but hearing other people's stories can make you more aware of potential risks of those relationships that could be good or bad. But thank you again for sharing that. And then I know you also have some resources on your website. So if you'd love to learn more, please check out Chris's website. I'll put a link to that in the description. And yeah, thank you. If you've been impacted by these stories, if it's helped you in other ways, please share these episodes. Yeah, I'd love to raise awareness, especially for dads, to just get those resources out there so that we can build a strong community of dads and parents that just want the best for their kids. So thank you so much for being a part of Girl Dad Nation. And until next time, go be a dad.
Thanks, Matthew.
Ai phải giờ đây